I am Samantha Williams, and I am the current entrepreneur in residence at the New Haven Free Public Library here until September now. Thank you, thank you. And so as an entrepreneur in residence, I offer bi-weekly consultative services, Tuesdays and Thursdays from 2 to 4 for anyone seeking advice, guidance, or just want to talk about your experiences going into entrepreneurship or being a small business owner. And then we also have weekly presentations where I invite in other professionals to come and share topics that may be relevant to small businesses and running a business. So today we have Latisha Douglas with Kamoda, and she's going to be talking about financial success in business, because that is all what we want. We want to have prosperity and financial success. So Latisha, welcome, and I will hand it over to you.
Thank you, Sammy. Thank you everyone for joining. I hope everyone gets a lot out of this presentation. Just as a brief introduction for myself, I do still have a corporate career. That's in technology, actually in database management in the insurance industry. But over the years, I have had a number of small businesses. One was a retail store where I spent a lot of time on the back end, numbers, crunching numbers, pricing. I had a tax preparation business, again, all about the numbers. I had a photography business that's still around. Isn't much lately, but it's there. And currently, I have a real estate investing business. I have properties in the Hartford and New Haven areas, and I have some in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. So I've always enjoyed finances. I always enjoyed numbers. I could sit and look at a spreadsheet all day and
That's where we differ.
So today we are here to talk about finances. Financial success in business. Mastering this does require us spending time investing and learning about different methods to maximize our portfolio. So this webinar will provide some strategies and habits at a high level that will help you put you on the road towards financial independence. So some common questions that are asked in business is, how do I manage my cash flow? How do I save enough income to grow my business and take it to the next level? How do I save enough to pay myself from my business? So hopefully some of the tips and tricks that I give you today will help you answer these questions. So first, where did you learn about money? You could put something in the chat, because I know I didn't learn about money in school. Right? I didn't learn about it from my parents. They couldn't teach me what they didn't know. So my motto is, if you want to be successful in an area in life, you have to spend time learning about it, right? What you focus on grows. So if we all have our businesses, we're running the operations, we're managing our products or our service, just the day-to-day in our business, but what are we doing specifically to manage the money that's flowing into the business? Right.
So Colleen says that she's still learning about money. She learned from her parents, definitely not in school. Jennifer says, I guess by watching my parents, I've learned so much in the past year. Yeah, we learn a lot about money as adults.
Yeah. I mean, my background, my parents are first generation. Well, I'm a first generation American. My parents are from the Caribbean. So they didn't have stocks and investing, and when they came to this country, right, they really focused on education for myself and my brothers, but they didn't know about the money piece, right? So I had to figure that out on my own. And it's not just, oh, it'll be okay when I make more money. We've all heard of millionaires that go bankrupt, right? We've heard about lottery winners that go broke. So it's not just bringing in more money. It's how do you manage the money that's coming in, right? It takes a very focused and conscious effort. Oh, there we go. So someone, was it Jennifer that said education, right? So the first thing is to teach yourself, self-education. There's so many different avenues and channels. Reading, you have books, hard books, you have electronic books, audio books, podcasts, YouTube. I know some people when they're cleaning or doing laundry, they like to talk on the phone or watch TV. Me, I have my ear pods in and I'm listening to something.
I will plug the library for that. The Ives Squared has a great exchange collection, and it's got great stuff on business. We have ebooks, we have databases. So if you're ever looking for a place once we open to go, or ebooks you can get now, since we're still not open, looking in the Ives Squared exchange collection could be really helpful for people that are interested in that.
I need to do that. I actually have an Audible account, which is you have to pay for it. So I get books every month. But I do need to start looking into the library options.
Well, you're welcome anytime.
Yes. The second thing is to attend conferences, classes, webinars, like everyone is here today. Last is just to listen. Success leaves clues. As I said, my career is in technology, so I found myself in a lot of meetings. And as the meeting is starting, there's a lot of small talk around the room. And the room, it was full of, older, successful males. So the conversation was often about money. So I would just sit there quiet and listen and take notes. And I would literally follow their advice. I would do my own research, of course. Just one quick example is when I first started working, my boss came in one day and started talking about Microsoft and talking about their stock and how they're going to split and how he bought a ton of shares. So I did my own research. It was I did end up purchasing some stock. It was my very first purchase. I literally went directly to Microsoft website at the time and made a purchase. And I forgot about it. So about 10 years later, so about 5 years ago, I was like, oh, I forgot I bought that. I pulled it up, found my login info, and so to be candid, that initial investment was $1,000. About 5 years ago, I pulled it up and it was worth about $7,000. I was like, oh, I was pleasantly surprised. And over these past 2 years, I'm not sure what Microsoft is doing, but their stock has taken off, and that's literally worth anywhere from 12 to 14. So that's just me listening one time, right, and educating myself and following the advice that I heard. And I have lots of similar examples. So next, money has four jobs, right? To spend, to save, to invest, and to donate. The donation part is optional, but if you do it, whether it's through tithing, donating to charity, or just finding a way to give back, that's just always a great thing. So the goal is to set up a system to allocate money to each one of these categories every time money comes in, right? It doesn't matter how much or how little the amount is. The goal is to set up the system and set up the habit, right? It's about the habit, not the amount. And once you set up that habit, it'll build momentum. So for business specifically, I personally like to separate it into 4 buckets, right? You have expenses, taxes, savings, and income. So every single time money comes into your business, you want to allocate it. You want to allocate a certain percentage to each bucket, right? And there's no exceptions. So I mentioned that money has jobs. So when the money comes in, you want to pretty much send it off so it can go and do its job, right? If the job, quote unquote, is not ready, you still want to park it somewhere. So when it's time for that bill to be paid, the money is actually there. For me personally, that parking spot are multiple business bank accounts. For some people who don't like multiple accounts, they may just have an allocation system or on Excel or some kind of online tool. So how do we, so those percentages that I mentioned they're just guidelines. You really need to figure out what your own percentages and allocations are. So the best way to do that is to create a budget. I know most people don't like the word budget. They think it's restrictive and limiting, but it's not. Like, you really do have to watch your money. I personally call it a wealth plan, right? So the first thing you want to do is get a pen and paper or do it on a computer and literally just sit down and list all your business expenses that you have for the month. You list your monthly expenses. You figure out there may be some expenses that only hit once a year, right? You still want to track those, take that number, divide by 12. If it's a quarterly expense, you want to divide by, by 4, sorry. So you have an exact number of how much it takes to run your business every single month. The second thing you want to do is actually track it, right? Whether you Excel, there's QuickBooks, there's a ton of budgeting apps. There's some that are right on your phone that you can update there. But find a tool, figure out what works best for you, and track it for a few months.
Hey, Latisha?
Yes.
Do you know anything more about Mint? I've heard of it. Is it a paid one, or is that a free app that you can use?
The last time I checked, Mint was free. And what Mint specializes in, it's great for people like me that have multiple accounts. It gives you one snapshot of all your accounts added together. So you literally link everything into Mint, and you could see how much you have in your check. If you have 4 checking accounts, you can see the combined total of all 4. You could create buckets and the same buckets and allocations I'm talking about. You can create it. If you don't want the actual accounts, you can create it in Mint. And it'll tell you, oh, you spent 20 of the $200 you have allocated to savings this month. So it's
That's
a
great.
tool.
And it sounds like if you have more than one business or you have a side hustle, that would be great to know because it combines things.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Thank you.
So they've been around for a while. They're pretty good. So like I said, and at some point, take that initial document that you created where you listed your expenses, but you also want to list like how much you think you spend on business lunches and dinners, how much you think you spend on gas, and actually compare it at some point to compare your tracking number to that first document you created. And you'll often be surprised and realize that you're actually spending a lot more than you think you're spending.
Okay, so the first document it's like a guess of what you think you're spending on your expenses.
I mean, you have your fixed expenses that you already know, right? If you have an office space, your rent, utilities, if you have some software or applications that you pay for monthly. So those are easy, but what you really want to focus on also is those variable expenses like gas and tolls and meals and the yearly expenses that we often forget about, right? You don't want to wait till that yearly expense comes to have to figure out where you're getting the money from. You want to take that yearly number, divide it by 12, and every month you're going to put that amount aside. So when the yearly bill hits, you already have, the cash is already there.
Sammy, my problem is I use it as a goal. So my budget is my goals. So I'll say $200 for clothes. And then the reality is not, my tracking sheet does not match up to that.
Yeah.
So now you have to create a way, if you're going to spend that much that you're already spending, you have to make sure your other expenses are covered for because you're too busy shopping.
Yep.
So I'll personally, so my problem was food, right? I literally open an account for my food. So I said, all right, every month, every time I get paid, I want to put $200 in my food account. And that food debit card that I had was the only card that I could use. So
and I will tell you, I was absolutely shocked because before COVID, Latisha and I had many, many, many meals together. And I was so shocked when she was like, I have a debit card just for food. And I'm like, really?
Smart.
So if your problem is clothes, right, and you really want to stick to that 200, if you put that 200 in your clothes debit card, like that, you can't go past that. Say, I'm going to use this card. Once that card is zero, I have to wait till that next allocated amount. And you want to automate that so it automatically transfers over, and that's it. If you're buying your clothes out of your main bucket, sometimes before you even know it, you've spent more than you wanted to.
That is a fantastic idea. I'm going to take you up on that.
All right. So next, I hope this is not new to anyone that started their business, but if you have a business, you need a business checking account, right? At minimum, a checking and a savings account. If you don't have an LLC or a corporation or a designation like that, at minimum, you should have a DBA or a doing business as. It's literally, you go downtown to your town hall, you register your DBA, not your DBA name. It's anywhere from $5 to $10. You take that paper to your bank and you can get a business account open under that DBA name, right? And if you're adventurous like me and you want multiple accounts to do your allocations and your tracking, then you can go ahead and have more. So as money comes in, right, whether it's check, direct deposit, some kind of transfer, you want it all to flow initially into that business checking account, right? From there, it'll get dispersed into the respective buckets that we talked about. So the first bucket that I want to talk about is your tax bucket. As a small business, you have to pay taxes and they need to be paid quarterly. If you wait till tax time to pay your taxes for the previous year, you will be hit with a significant penalty from the IRS. So I want to take $1,000 for an example, right? Let's say you have $1,000 you cannot just make $1,000. You want to look at it and say, I just made $700, because you automatically want to take that 30% and put it aside. For me, it's actually putting it into a separate account. So I know when it's time for those quarterly taxes, the money is already there. I don't have to figure out where to get it. And then you want to automate this. I know for small businesses, it's a little more difficult than people with W-2 income because your money fluctuates, but pick a minimum number, right? And just have your set up so it automatically transfers that minimum amount into your tax account or your tax bucket. I did forget to mention that if you do go the multiple account route, just make sure they're all linked together, right? And no matter which business account I log into, it is connected to my other accounts. And if the bank is on the Zelle network, you can literally do instant transfers. And a lot of other banks have one-day transfers. So everything it's like, it needs to be all linked and networked together.
Can you say more about Zelle?
Zelle is just a money transfer network that a lot of banks have been getting on. So I know Wells Fargo, Chase, Capital One, they all use the Zelle transfer network. So you just log into your account, you say, I want to send money to this person or even to myself. Like, I have them all linked together. So if I need additional money in one account, if I need money from one account, I need to put it in another, it takes me 2 minutes to log in and to just hit send. And a lot of people are using that as payment options for their customers. It is free, and it just makes it a lot easier because so many banks are getting on it.
Yeah,
It sounds like Venmo, but less personal, more business.
Well, Venmo, Cash App, they're all third-party accounts, whereas Zelle is actually integrated into the bank, the bank's network.
Okay.
So it's not a separate application that you have to log into to send money.
And also, there's no fee associated with sending money through Zelle, whereas Venmo, if you want it right away, you have to pay a percentage in fees.
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, and I know a lot of people, I've literally heard the mindset where people say, oh, I don't want to make a lot of money because I'll have to pay a lot of taxes. But I'd rather make $1 million and pay $350,000 in taxes than not make it. It's all about just making sure. The problem comes when you make the $1 million and you spend the $1 million, and then it's time to pay taxes and you don't have it, right? So as long as you're allocating it, you're automating it, you should be fine. The next bucket that I want to talk about is the expense bucket. right? So that business checking is your default account. And when the money comes in, you want it dispersed into your other buckets. But whatever your monthly expenses are going to stay in the checking account. You're going to get rid of everything else, clear it out, but keep your monthly expenses in your business checking account, because that's what you're going to use to pay your expenses. I have marketing, travel, equipment. If you're doing a business lunch or dinner, you want to use pay for it directly from that account. You are already going to have a good idea, right, from the budget that you created, exactly what your monthly expenses are. So you want to, at minimum, keep at least 1 month buffer in there. And just, if you can, automate it. Whether you automate all your bills through your bank, right? You go into their bill pay and schedule everything, or you could automate it on the side of the expense company itself. You could go there and say every month, you know, pay the bill on this month. That just makes things a lot easier and a lot cleaner. And then we're going to talk about financial reviews. So even though you're automating it, you're not closing your eyes to it. You want to keep checking and making sure everything is running appropriately. The next bucket is the payroll or the income bucket. If you have employees, it's paying your employees. If you don't have employees, it's still paying yourself, right? We don't want to, payroll is an expense, but I personally like to keep it separate. If I'm running a business, it's because at some point I want to pay myself for all my hard work. So whether you want a regular income draw or you want your business to pay your, like, let's say you have a personal credit card and you want all the hard work from your business, you want to take money from your business to pay that personal credit card, that's fine. But what you cannot go into your business account and pay your personal debt. What you have to do is transfer that money from your business account to your personal account as a draw or as payroll or income, whatever you want to call it, and then you could pay that bill from your personal account, right? So that part is very important. You need to keep your expenses separate. It's fine to say that you want your business to support some of your personal debt, but just make sure you move that money twice if you have to, from business to personal and then personal to make the actual payment. And again, you want to set up a system, right? You want to automate it every 2 weeks or whatever cycle or schedule you want. Just do some math, find out what that minimum amount is, and have it automatically transfer. So you don't have to actually initiate the process and do the work every month. The next bucket I want to talk about is the savings bucket. This is the last bucket, but it is one of the most important, right? I separated it into 2 parts. The first part is a regular savings account, and it's important because it gives you leverage and peace of mind. We all saw what happened over these last few months with COVID, totally unexpected, totally not planned. So the businesses that had savings are okay, and the ones that didn't kind of struggled a bit. And we've seen a lot of businesses that have been closing. So you want to have a minimum of 6 months of business expenses sitting in your business savings account, right? You already did the math. You know exactly how much your monthly expenses are. Just take that number, times it by 6, and automate it, right? You have your allocations and your tracking. Just have that minimum amount that you think you need automatically transferred out of your business checking into your business savings. If you do that and really stay strict with it, no matter how small the amount is to start, you'll figure out how to make do with the rest, right? The more you make, the more you spend. In order to break that habit, you have to, as soon as money comes in, automatically take it out of that checking account and put it in your savings. All right, make the commitment to set aside. If you start with 20%, put that 20% in. And the other thing that I like to do is increase that percentage regularly. So if you're at 20%, everything's going smoothly, maybe once a quarter, every few months, you increase it to 21%. That 1% is such a small amount that you're not going to feel it. But if you keep doing that, let's say you do that every quarter, at the end of the year, that's 4%. So you went from 20 to 24%. The following year, you're at 30. The goal is to make that savings percentage. If it could be half of your income, that's great. So once you hit that 6 month worth of savings, you want to stop. You really don't want to have more than 6 months there, and it's a low interest account. Right now it's anywhere from 0 to 0.5%. So once you get there, it's time to move on to the second phase, which are investments. Right now, this is really the key distinguishing factor. This can be done either on the business side or the personal side, but it's so important that I still wanted to talk about it as part of the business. Right now, inflation averages about 3% a year. So if you have money sitting in a savings account making 0.5%, you're literally actually losing money every year, right? And in essence, you're moving backwards. So let's say on the personal side, you're trying to save $10,000 to buy a house. If it takes you 10 years to save it, in 10 years, you now need $20,000 as a down payment for that same house. So the question is, how can I get there quicker with the money I do have? How can I grow it exponentially? And the key is investing, creating passive income, or investing in income producing assets. Those assets could be stocks, they could be bonds, it could be real estate investment. It's up to you. There's pros and cons for all of them. There's risk for all of them, but there's also great rewards. So again, you have to do your own research. That's where the education piece comes in, because yes.
Real quick question. So if you were suggesting to someone that just started a small business, something to invest in, would you say there's one over the other kind of investment that you would suggest?
I would say mutual funds or index funds. Index funds are, first, the stock market, you have individual stocks, right, where they're more risky because if something happens to that one company, it could have a huge impact on your investment. Whereas index funds take a group of many stocks and invest, you buy the index fund, and that index fund invest in multiple stocks. So if there are 12 stocks in that index portfolio and something happens to one company, then it's a smaller impact than if you invested directly with the company.
Definitely, thank you.
So a lot of these, for example, for brokerage accounts where you buy individual stocks or index funds, there's E-Trade. There's a ton of mobile apps out there now, Robinhood, Acorn, to name a couple. For the mutual funds, you can use companies like Vanguard and T. Rowe Price. Many years ago, to invest into one of these companies, you needed a large minimum. Those minimums no longer exist. Or if they do, they could always, a lot of companies will still waive it if you set up monthly automatic investments, which you want to do anyway, right? You want to automate everything. Every month a certain amount comes out without you even thinking about it. So they are risky. They will go up and down, which is where most people get scared. But if you literally just set it and forget it, invest the same amount every month, if the stock is up or the fund is up, that's great. Your account is worth more. If it goes down for a particular month and you're still purchasing the same amount, then just look at it as you're getting it on sale at a discount. So that if it's $100 a month, that $100 will get you 2 shares this month instead of 1. So just set it and forget it. Just a couple personal examples, and just to show how a small amount every month adds up. Actually, Sammy asked me one day, she's like, how are you getting all this money to buy these houses? Like, what are you doing? And this is it. The one at the bottom is Amazon. So many years ago, I think after one of my businesses failed, I could only afford about $50 a month, right? But I was strict with my investing. I said, I'm still gonna I went into E-Trade. I said at that time you could buy partial shares. So I said every month, just buy me $50 worth of Amazon stock. And I never changed it. I kept that going for a couple years. And I actually logged in this morning, and this 887% interest off of $50 a month. And
I know, and it's like COVID related too, because everyone needed packages all of a sudden. Like you would think like all businesses would have been affected, but Amazon, he's like $1 trillion owner now. It's crazy. That's really smart that you had that. Yeah.
Back in March, when everyone was scared and selling, I was literally buying.
That's awesome. Very smart.
Yeah. So
Latisha.
Yes.
Can I borrow $1?
Just one.
Just one. Well, matter of fact, can you share some stock? Can we do that?
Yeah, right.
Talk to me later. But yeah, like I could literally sell my Amazon off of that literal 50. It was $50 a month. I did it for 2 years, so 24 months. I could literally sell that today and go buy another house. The same with Apple, where everyone was buying the latest iPhone. Because you could buy a new iPhone, right? They're over $1,000 now. And then you can have it added to your account, so you're only paying $30 a month. Instead, I said, I'll take that $30 a month and I'm actually gonna buy their stock, right? Yeah. So it's a small investment, even though it seems insignificant. If you invest it the right way, it can literally be life-changing. So this doesn't always happen, right? I'm not saying that you could just, go out and buy stocks and you'll get these kind of results all the time. You know, I do have some negatives in there, but when I look at how much I would have if I just left that money in a savings account versus doing this, it's night and day. And that's really how you propel yourself to get ahead, is by learning about investments and doing it no matter how small the amount.
Do you have any suggestions on or tips on when to decide or how to decide when to take out money? Because I know it's an emotional decision a lot of times for people, and I've been told that you really cannot let emotions get into it.
Yeah. So I invest for the long term. I'm not a day trader. I'm not in and out every day. So what happens is people will look at it every day, and as soon as their money starts, as soon as the stock price starts dropping, they'll want to run and sell, right? But I literally I'm disciplined enough now to be able to log in every day and to see it. Like, I was down 40% back in March. I didn't, because I know that I'm in it for the long term. It's going to recover, and in the long run, things will be okay. So I haven't fully figured out my exit strategy. I really haven't sold much at all, but I know at some point, if something comes up, if there's investment property that I really want, then I may go ahead and decide to sell off some stuff to purchase it. But I'm in it for the long run. I'm in it for, if there's a business that comes up that I think would be a great purchase, I know where the money's coming from, and just to create that generational wealth and legacy. So
yeah, I've been told you got to weather the storm and be smart about it and try not to be emotional about it. So it sounds like you said the exact same thing.
Yeah. One book that I'm reading now, you have to really be into stocks and numbers to get through it, is A Random Walk Down Wall Street.
Ooh, I'll have to see if the library has it. If not, I'll buy it.
It talks about just all the crazy things people did investing, right? we saw Bitcoin in our lifetime. We saw the housing market, but there was a tulip craze where people are buying tulips. It's about
I
halfway.
heard about that.
Yeah, it's a really interesting read.
Nice. Oh, thanks for the suggestion. We love book suggestions.
Yeah, so I know this is kind of getting over to the personal side, but I felt that it was important to talk about because it's really what you need to do to get that money to start your business, to get money to continue to grow your business, because in the beginning, your business doesn't always make money from day one. So it'll get you through those first couple of years. It'll get you to the point where you can walk away from your corporate career to start your business if that's what you want to do. And it just gives you more options. So so the reason investing is so great is because of compound interest, right? The compound interest makes a huge difference over a period of time. So this chart here just shows you if you, not that. You started $1,000. The orange is if you leave your money in a checking account with no interest, right? 0% interest. Because of inflation that I mentioned earlier, after a certain period of time, that $1,000 is actually worth less, right? So at the end of this period, that $1,000 is now worth $406. If you invested in a lower interest, sorry, this keeps moving. If you invested in a lower interest savings account, right, at 2.5%, you actually have $860 at the end of the period.
Wow.
If you invested in a 7%, if you invested in the market or something where you can get 7%, which isn't really hard, we've had a tremendous run in the last 10 years. Like you really couldn't fail in the market. You have $3,313. That's just off $1,000. Now you start adding zeros to that and you'll see how much of a difference it makes over time. So just to start to wrap it up, just some financial habits of the wealthy. We kind of touched on some of these already. You pay yourself first. You invest your savings. You track your money. You know your circle. What's the saying? You're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time around. And you manage your spending.
How often would you look at your budget, or your bank account? Because I've been told I should look at it every morning and just to remind myself what I have, what I'm spending, but that might be because I'm not good with money. So how often do you make sure you get into your bank account, make sure that you're tracking it correctly and that it's matching your budget?
That's exactly what I was transitioning to.
Perfect.
I like to call it Finance Fridays, right?
Oh, okay.
Friday, I review all my numbers and my finances. If you pick a date to do it or pick a day of the week to do it, then it's on your schedule, it's on your calendar. There's a better chance that it'll get done. All right, so every week you want to track your numbers. There's a piece you do want to do daily. If you're tracking it by entering your expenses into an app on your phone, then you don't want to wait a week to do that. You can go ahead. If you're using Mint, you could do the Mint app, which corresponds to if you log in on your computer, make those updates there. But every week you want to just make sure everything looks good. Everything is up to date. You want to tweak your automations. If you made more money that week and you say, I have 20% going to my savings, but I had a good week. Let me take the extra out. That's the day you would do it. If you're using QuickBooks, you would update that, update your spreadsheets, and just make sure everything looks good.
Are you checking your bank account every day?
I personally do. I have a folder. I have an app for all my accounts, and I have a folder on my phone with all the apps, so they're all in one place. So whenever I have a little bit of downtime in the day, I'm waiting for a meeting to start, I'll literally just go in, log into one, log out, log into the next one, log out, and just take a couple minutes and just look at everything.
Are you sure you don't want to be a day trader? It sounds like day trading.
These are my bank accounts, not my. Well, no, I shouldn't.
I got you.
I do look at my E-Trade. I look at my stock positions. Again, I don't make any moves. I don't
My bank accounts I look at every morning. It's the first thing I look at before I check social media, email. I check the bank accounts, which I think is big since I don't even like. I like my money, but I don't like numbers. So I do that, but mainly because I've been a victim of identity theft twice already. So there's been days when I woke up and I have like negative $6,000 in the bank, and I'm like,
wow,
what happened?
Yeah,
so because of that, I make it a habit to check daily. The stocks, like I use what is it? I forget. See, look, I put Acorns. I use Acorns and another one that I use, and I check those. Yeah, you told me about Robinhood. I have that one stock that you told me to buy in Robinhood. I don't even use that one anymore because I'm like you. I have the little folder too with my money. Ally, the Ally Mobile.
Yes. Okay.
So I buy stocks from there. So I'll check that maybe once a week.
Yeah, my dad has 3 small businesses, and he gets in the habit of like, oh, I had a good day, or I had a bad day, and he checks like throughout the day, and I'm just like, that must be so stressful. So that's why I was asking, like, what would you suggest? So I like Finance Fridays. I think that's good.
It's not that well. I enjoy it. That's a good part of my day is checking up on everything. And then once a month, you want to take a look at a snapshot of your entire financial position, right? How much money did I make this month? How much came in? How much went out? Make sure all your bills are on track. Everything's flowing the way it should be. And then once a quarter, you want to look at your entire net worth, right? How much do I have in savings across, my business, personal, my accounts? How much are my expenses, assets minus liabilities? And you want to know that number at all times. And it changes quarterly. Like for me, I have a lot of houses. So every quarter I go in, see how much I paid off in each mortgage. And I personally just love to see that number trending down and the asset column trending up. So I have a goal, right? We're all doing our yearly goals. So I know exactly what I want my net worth to be at the end of the year, and just seeing it get there every quarter, just for me personally, I know it helps push me to keep going. So if you're one of those people that have your to-do list and you like crossing things off your to-do list, like this is the same thing. Looking at that spreadsheet and seeing the trend just kind of helps push you. So these are the questions that I mentioned at the beginning, right? How do I manage my business cash flow at a high level? You do your allocations and you automate your expenses and savings. How do you save enough to grow my business and take it to the next level? Again, it's about automating everything, saving. The Compound Effect is another great book, right? It talks about how it's not just money, it's just in life, how the compound effect of things that seem minuscule or minute, but that compound effect is huge. How do I save enough business income to pay myself regularly? Again, it's all about automating those payroll expenses and paying yourself first. It takes, at the beginning, it may take a good amount of time at the beginning to get everything set up, but your goal is to have this, no matter how complex you make it, just a smooth running machine once it's set up. And it only takes, your Finance Fridays, it's not going to be all day. As time goes on, it may take you an hour initially every Friday to check on things, but at some point you'll get it down to like 15, 20 minutes of your day.
So do you think now, for small businesses that are struggling with COVID, do you think now, based on the market and everything, would be a good time to invest in stocks? Or do you think people should wait until the country opens up a little more?
So the market, for the most part, has recovered.
Okay. Good to know.
But you never want to wait, right? You could, I wish I had you could look at, if you ever did research on retirement accounts, there's a lot of charts and data out there that says this person started investing at 20 and put in $10,000. This person started investing at 30 and put in 50,000, right? Just that one-time investment and stopped. And then they fast forward 40 years out, and that person that put in 10 when they were 20 has 4 times as much as that person that put in 50 at 30. So it's all about starting as soon as possible. And you want to pick a dollar amount, and every month you invest that same dollar amount. The term for that is dollar cost averaging. That means, and I mentioned it a little before, it means when the stock price is up, it's good because your account balance is higher. When the stock prices are down, it's good because that regular monthly investment that you're purchasing could buy more that month. So at the end of the day, in 10 years, it's not going to matter whether you bought the stock today or 2 months from now, right?
Okay.
It's about just starting. And
I like that. Okay.
Yeah, back in March when things were devastating and the stock market was crashing like horribly, me and Latisha were texting, like, what are you buying? I'm buying this. I'm buying this.
I know, and it goes against what you would think, but that's great advice.
Yeah, she was teaching me how to, what is it you just taught me how to do? How to, like, watch it for a certain price. You can set it up so that
a limit order.
A limit order. So I want to buy Apple stock, but like I was trying to buy Walmart, I think it was, or Disney. And so I'm trying to buy Disney stock and it kept falling, but I only wanted the order to execute if it dropped to like $82, because usually Disney is like over 100, like 112, but it kept dropping.
Last I checked, it was 116, where you could have bought it for 80 something.
Yeah. So back in March, I had it set for as soon as it hits $82, I'm going to buy 10 shares or whatever it is. So thank you. You taught me that.
I love it.
Any other questions? Are there any questions in the chat area?
We had one in the beginning. We had one. Let me double check for it.
Alicia was looking for a CPA.
CPA suggestions.
I'm still looking for it.
So I use Latisha, I think you used him this year too.
Yeah, Ryan.
Ryan Turner. I forget the name of the company, but his name is Ryan Turner, I believe is his last name, and they're in Hamden. And I used him this year, and this is the first year in maybe 10 that we didn't have to owe any money in taxes.
What I would say is try to find one that specializes in your business, right? So for me, Ryan they were good. They did do my taxes last year. I was doing them myself up until last year, and then with all the real estate, it just became too much. So I finally handed it off, and they were great. But ultimately, I want to find a CPA that specializes in real estate, because there's so many more deductions in that line of business for me that your regular CPA may not know of, right? Like one recent thing is paying your children. Like if you have kids, right, of age, I have a 10-year-old, and they literally, when I go rehab a property, every Saturday before COVID, for the last couple of years, they are with me looking at properties, cleaning up properties. I have one sweeping, one wiping down windows.
Look at you, what a good teacher.
Yeah, so they literally are working. So
That's great.
Deduct them. I could take deduction from them. You know, I can't say, oh, I paid them 50 grand to do that, but I can't, look at the minimum rate, and, they'll help you figure out the amount. You of course have to track it and actually do pay them, which all you need to do is, again, automate it. Every month you have a certain amount going from your account to their custodial accounts that we should have for all our kids, and automate it.
That's great. It looks like we have another comment in the chat. Let me just check.
While you do that, Jennifer said she loves the idea of a wealth plan. That's a great idea. Nicole said that's a great idea. Jennifer also loves using Zelle.
Yep.
She was congratulating you on your Amazon stock.
Thank you, thank you. I mean,
Yeah,
I feel like it's
accounts.
so easy now, right?
Yeah.
With everything being online, the automation, that didn't exist 20, 30 years ago. Like I couldn't imagine sitting down and having to, what do they call it? Balance your checkbook.
I don't balance my checkbook. Yeah. My parents still say that though. They're like, Colleen, you need to balance your checkbook. I'm like, no.
Yes, or literally bill paying, right? I literally have about 50 bills that need to be paid every month. I couldn't imagine having to sit down and write,
Every day.
right?
Yep.
So the fact that all this technology is available to us, is just take advantage of it.
I have a neighbor who I joked on him so bad. Now he told me every time he takes out his checkbook to write a check, he can hear my voice laughing at him. Like, and I'm like, I have checkbooks. You know, I can dust them off and use them if I need to, but they're here.
I have a checkbook, but I had to go to the actual bank the other day because I had to make 2 deposits and I had 1 check left from this checkbook from years ago. And so I was like, oh my God, are you serious? So I had to go get a money order or something from the bank. And they're like, you want to order a checkbook? And I was like, the only checks I send are usually just for my rent because the guy's old school and wants a check.
And I noticed with starting the business, there's more things on the business side that I need to write a check for. There's organizations I have to send in a check to.
Yeah.
On the personal side, it's very seldom that I need to write a check, maybe for my son's school or something. But on the business side, I had to make sure I had a supply of checks because people are still, you know, how some people are still using fax machines. On the business side, some people, they'll take cash or check, and for business I don't use cash because, like you were saying, you want to pay everything from your business account, but I automate everything or from the bank account, or I write a check. That way it's traceable and I can always track it right back to what it was.
Yeah.
Alicia says she does need a CPA. She's in her first year in business. I'm a product-based business, travel-inspired home fragrance and skincare. So I would think a CPA that focuses on small business should be fine for that. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. And definitely start early, right? Keep everything separate, everything clean. Start with the CPA, so it'll help. Once you grow, you already have all that set.
Is there maybe a database? I know there's databases of doctors in your area. There's databases of lawyers in your area. Is there any database, or are you guys just doing Google searches for these services?
I got a lot of recommendations from all the different networking events, and Sammy, her Chamber of Commerce, and the BNI, all these organizations that we are part of. There's a lot of networking groups for small business owners.
I would definitely, I mean, there are databases. There's a lot of people who want to support Black owned, right? So if you specifically want a woman to do your taxes, you want a female CPA or a Black CPA, you can go to the state of Connecticut or what state you're in. They have a directory of the businesses who are certified as woman-owned, as minority-owned, as Black-owned. So you can search that way. But then it's still a vetting process. So you want to figure out who's good and who's bad. I've had bad accountants. Lord, I've had bad accountants. And I think you mentioned it, Latisha, with the quarterly taxes. So I had a bad bookkeeper who wasn't really monitoring the books bad. And I hired his brother, who was a bad CPA, who never told me about quarterly taxes. And because I never knew about quarterly taxes, I filed my taxes. I get a bill of like $15,000.
Wow.
So, and the CPA was recommended to me by my mentor, who of course I'm going to trust. Later on, she ended up, not the CPA, the bookkeeper, she ended up firing the bookkeeper right before I fired him. So he lost both of us. And then I fired his brother. But then it's still, how do you figure out who's going to be a good CPA? So after that experience, I found an accountant who was in a BNI that I was visiting. BNI is a networking group, and they have them everywhere. And I was listening to her experiences, and they're selling their services. So she was saying how her client got a bill of like $20,000. She fought it for them, and the bill ended up being like $4,000. So how she's able to save the money, and she had this track record. So my next accountant, I hired her, and she was a lot more expensive, but I also felt like I needed somebody who was going to clean up what the last accountant did. Because I don't want to go to Club Fed. So I'm like, just get it together, fix what needs to be fixed. And then I let her fix it. And then this year I went to Ryan and his team, who was more affordable, but I also felt like, I told Ryan, like, I don't know what I don't know. I don't want to say, I want you to get me these deductions. I want you to say, these are the deductions I can get for you. And I'm going to try to work more for you to get it for you. So that's what I was looking for now. So that's why so Ryan is now the third CPA that I'm working with.
I think the reason I asked about databases is like Yelp or whatever, people rate these people. So you should see if there's like some kind of database you can rate these past accountants on, give them a bad rating so people don't make the mistake of hiring them.
And also the Better Business Bureau, you can always check and see if they're a member. I'm a member of the Better Business Bureau, but it's a way to keep you in check, because if somebody gives you a negative review for what you did in your business, I have to report up to the Better Business Bureau and explain why the situation went that way. So maybe if you're backed by the Better Business Bureau, check in the Google reviews, the Yelp reviews. You can search for them on social media and see what other people are saying about them, and just vet them out. Like, I remember when I was buying my house, I was working with a neighborhood housing agency, and they gave us 3 names of realtors and 3 names of attorneys. And so it was our job to go through those 3 and see who was going to be the best bet. And I think sometimes the rule of 3 or more is better, so that you can compare too. What are their fees going to be? You can get feedback from each of the CPAs, from their clients, from what they have to say. Again, you can search in Google and see what people are saying. But it's a vetting process, because in the end, like with my bad experience, I fired him. He wasn't my accountant anymore, but it's my mess that I have to clean up. So you
definitely don't go for the first Google suggestion is what I would say. Yeah.
And usually the first one is an advertisement anyway. They're paying to be there. So it doesn't
Exactly,
speak to their credibility.
Yep.
Do we have any other questions for the chat, you guys? Let's see. We have, what about a healthcare CPA? So healthcare in business or personal healthcare? Who asked that?
Yes, Dr. Jennifer is a doctor. She needs someone who knows how to do the books for a healthcare practice.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, Dr. Jennifer. We're not doctors.
I would say follow the same advice about vetting, but yeah, if you have anything to add, Latisha, feel free.
I mean, Sammy, you're the plug and you know everything, so I figured you'd know.
And she knows everyone, so
exactly.
She knows everyone. Yeah.
I'm still relatively new to New Haven, so I figured you would have the information for me.
All right, Jennifer. I'll make a note. Okay, I'll make a note. I'll find you a healthcare CPA.
That's sure you can find someone.
That's why we kept Sammy on. She knows everyone. She always helps out. She's great.
Thank you, Colleen and Jenna. Thank you, Gina.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to say, Latisha, I don't have any questions. This was extremely informative, and they always say you don't know what you don't know. I think it was great that you shared some of the tips that you did. Just about separate bank accounts. I never thought of that. Like as far as having separate business accounts even. Just some of those little tips, like what we talked about earlier with like having a debit card for food or clothes, or I would have never thought of that. And that is a great way to kind of stay on budget. So thank you. This was great. I learned a lot.
And just so you know, if you loved this, but you didn't get all the notes down, or you have a question, or you remember something she said but can't remember, we do record these. We're going to edit them, and then we put them on our YouTube and on our videos in Facebook. So those will be coming. And you'll also, everyone that registered will be getting an email to hopefully fill out how much they loved this and what we can do better with our programs if there's any suggestions. It's called a project outcomes survey. So I would appreciate it if everyone fills it out. You'll be getting it in your email.
What if you didn't register? Should I just register now?
If you didn't register,
I just jumped on.
I didn't get the link, so put your email in the chat.
Okay.
Colleen, does that questionnaire also cover what topics they may be interested in?
You know what? I can add that as a question. That's a great idea.
Okay.
Okay. So
I have a calendar to fill through September, so.
I know. I was gonna say we got to brainstorm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Financials. I mean, people need to know. So this was great.
Yes.
Let me get that email, and yeah, you'll all be able to watch this when it gets up.
Perfect.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Sammy, are you a business consultant? Oh, yes. So I am the entrepreneur in residence at the New Haven Free Public Library, which is hosting this webinar today. And as my role as the EIR Entrepreneur in Residence, I provide twice a week business consultative services, Tuesdays and Thursdays from 2 to 4. And that link to schedule your calendar appointments is on the library's website. It will take you to Calendly, and you can book ahead of time. And I provide advice, consultations, input, or just sometimes people just come and talk about life and business. So that's Tuesdays and Thursdays from 2 to 4 through September. Okay, and we have Jennifer's, you're welcome, thank you for coming. We have Jennifer's email, everyone will get the questionnaire. And if there's no other questions, then Latisha, thank you for coming and doing this presentation.
Thank you. We can't wait till September when you're gonna come back.
Yes. She has to finish up some grad school classes and then.
Yes, yeah, good luck. Good luck on your grad school.
Thank you, everyone. All right, I'm gonna end it now.
All right, thanks everyone.